No one knows. No one knows. We all woke up in the upside down, turning inside out like we've all been led astray. We've been standing on the outside in, trying to find our friends like we're all just castaways. Feel like we've been missing out.
Hello and welcome back to Ricky Leaks. I have my boys with me today. Hello, we have Ricky and Zig. How are you, Zig?
I am doing great, sister. Good to see you both. How are you doing?
We're doing great. I'm glad to be here. Always happy to be included. I think we got a good show today. A lot of good information to put out. So I'm excited. I'm pumped up.
Yes, me too. It's as always an honor and a pleasure whenever we get together, especially like this. It's something we've been working on for a couple months now. So glad to be a part of the Ricky Leaks official. I get a spot on the channel finally. Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, now it's official. No, we're happy to have you, and I hope we can do more in the future.
Most certainly.
This video, obviously, if you haven't been aware, Ricky Leaks, we do two types of videos. Half of our library of videos is looking at myth and fiction and finding out the parallels of what's happening in our reality. And then the other half of our videos are health news, and not the health news that goes on Instagram, real stuff that actually works, not stuff that is being pushed by doctors and stuff that's uncensored. So go check out over there for parasite cleansing, autism reversal, things of that nature.
It's a lot of boots on the ground healing, I would say, just tried and true methods based in reality, things that we've done with real people. We have a lot of real world testimonials that we like to share. We have a lot of health collaborators that we work with. And I'd say that'd be the majority of our channel. The worth that we really want to try and bring everybody is that sort of information as well. And then, like Lexi said, this whole pattern recognition in media and all sorts of different mediums has really become prevalent these days. I'd say more so the last 5 years. It's come up a lot more than we thought. So we're happy to keep bringing it for everybody.
Absolutely. And you guys do a wonderful job. I've seen a lot of your videos, and, I've been a big fan for a long time. And obviously, I've known Lexi. I like that name. That's my cousin's name. I can remember that now instead of Lexi.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, we've been trying to get this together and schedules on time for a period. Right. And it's great to be here. She's, we're all, part of the Icons community. That's another blessing. That's just, I can't tell you if we didn't have these kind of sessions, who knows where I would be, because a lot of us need guidance and help, and that's what we're here for, right?
Yeah, well said. We've all needed a place to come together to continue to share knowledge, information, and just ideas that isn't censored, because that was a big problem when this all first kicked off. Was nobody could come together. There was no place for people to share ideas or share videos, share content. And now that's, we've really, all of us as a community, those who listen, those who make content, we've changed that narrative completely. And I'm really proud of that. So thank you for everything that you do to keep this up, because it's part of it.
Oh, wow. Yeah, ditto. I agree completely with what you guys are saying. And I'm extremely proud of Rumble, regardless of the technical issues they have. It's the one outlet that hasn't caved, and is becoming more stronger and stronger by each day, with it getting a lot of attention, because Charlie Kirk's was only on Rumble. You see a lot of Rumble microphones on like mainstream media now, and people going
right.
Rumble. So we're proud that the independent journalism has been able to carry on through people like yourself, me, and just small parts of the puzzle. There's a lot of great ones out there, and we've seen a lot of fraudulent ones fall as well, and more will fall too, because there's still so many out there. But that's okay.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I haven't seen that many.
We saw a lot, like every 5 years, new false prophets kind of enter the scene, but also not just false prophets, but people do get burnt out. And I noticed that coming in 2018, there were a lot of people who have already been on like the anti-vaccine movement at that point for like 5 to 10 years, and they were burnt out already. So even though they were good, even though they were spreading truth, they were jaded in a way that like you can tell they're jaded and they just need to pass the baton to someone or need help. So we came on the scene around 2018, and then obviously 2020 happened, and we were getting like cures out to people. If it was just making a bottle of MMS and giving to people and they would come pick it up, or being on the phone trying to make like drinks that you can like sneak into hospitals so these people could get
things changed. We had to adapt.
Wow.
And it was, you know, that was 7 years ago now. So I can tell that in certain ways I've been in this so long. I was getting jaded. We've seen stuff over the years of people trying to force alliances, and I'm all about coming together as a community. But when you see these alliances that are trying to be made, and we're using our real names, our real faces, and some of these people don't have their real names, don't have any faces on their profiles, and they're like, join us. And it's like, okay, that's a little cabalish. So what we're doing with this series this season is covering a lot of D&D, Dungeons and Dragons gameplay. And the reason that is, and we're going to explain it in this video, is so many of the narratives that are going on right now really are following certain rules. It doesn't matter if you or I like them. These are the rules of the game, and you kind of have to learn them. And there's a lot of team building and team accountability within Dungeons and Dragons, and we'll go into it. But something that I've noticed in these different circles, especially the New Age movement, the Christian movements, is this false idea of I'm a higher vibration than everyone else. And it's like, no, like we really are as slow as fast as the slowest player. Judas was one of the disciples and apostles for Jesus, and he brought down the whole gang. So even though Jesus was this high vibrational being, it was still the low vibrational man on the team, the totem pole, that really decided his fate in certain ways. And Christ makes the best out of it. Like, we're going to transmute this. So what I started noticing is, how do we get the people in America, our comrades that think we're crazy, our peers, our neighbors who hate us, because there is such a polarizing political time right now, how do we move forward as a country with still holding these people that we have to live in the country with accountable, and also hold empathy for them to move forward? And that is where I look at fiction, because it doesn't matter if you're right wing or left wing, you still probably have seen many of these same videos, because everyone loves the top 10 movies that have been put out. There are Lord of the Rings fans on both sides. There are Mummy. We just did The Mummy. We just did Pirates of the Caribbean with Icons last year. Godfather. We've done Matrix, Avatar, Harry Potter. Like, we've done
Dune.
So many. Doom. Yeah, Doom. We've done so many videos like this. And if you find a common denominator that everyone has seen and knows, then you can kind of get the experiences and the lessons that are in all of these different videos, books, movies, and we can all be a part of them together. So for me, going through like fiction stories was one way that we can get kind of all these different people on the same page and look at the same lessons.
It's a great idea. And I'm so glad you brought that up, because if you're still looking at, if people are still looking at this thing like a left versus right, Democrat versus Republican thing, it's like, you got to catch up. We're way beyond that. You know what I mean? So just like you said, you got to be able to discern and use your second brain, which is your gut, your intuition, your stomach, to know whether or not this is some BS or whatnot. But yeah, you guys do amazing work, because I know very little about Dungeons and Dragons and Harry Potter and stuff like that. It's just mainly because it scares me to read something that big.
Yeah, no, and I
you
think
guys did.
it's good. Just, I mean, even I'm not even, I don't proclaim to be an expert, but I think when you look at, you can still see the patterns, and when those patterns in things like Dungeons and Dragons, or like Lexi's saying, like following the rule book or following a playbook or a certain set of standards that'll lead you to certain results. We do see that in everyday media. We do see that in the way that governments are corrupt. We do see that in the way that they censor us. And it's good to make it palatable for people, because these are heavy subjects, and that's where a lot of people can get a little turned off, for lack of a better term, where you start looking into this and it starts hitting people's belief systems. I admit it's happened to me too. I've had to grow and adapt and change to the new truths that have become evident, and change the way that I look at the world and change my perspectives. And you know what? I'm glad for that. And I think everybody deserves to have that opportunity. And that's why we just make it more about subjects, media, movies, people that can look at that, relate to it, and then plug it into their own lives and what's happening around them, and say, wow, there is something to this, and they get to grow, I hope. So that's the idea behind it.
I love it, because it's like, it's all connected one way or another. It's like you have more appreciation for that in the scheme of things, knowing that this whole world is a show. Like, okay, people say, yeah, we're watching a movie, but we're also living through it, right? And it's real. It's real as real can get, and there is no coincidences, just like what we're about to go over with this movie.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say that. Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's like jumping out of me right now. Yeah, I can't wait to get into that.
Okay,
I am so glad. Yes, absolutely.
Let's just get into it.
Let's just go.
And we're going to cover a couple little basics before we get to the movie Snake Eye, just so people, if you've never heard of predictive programming before. Another thing is, when the Snake Eye topic became trending, a lot of people were doing the right thing, where they're like, hey, these are the similarities, these are the name, these are the places, these are the connections.
I hate to make conspiracies about this, but there are just way too many similarities in this movie and what happened to Charlie Kirk. So in a 1998 movie called Snake Eyes, starring Nicolas Cage, a politician named Charlie Kirkland, a politician, gets assassinated in the neck in very almost identical spot. And it is during a boxing match on September 10th. Here's the poster. And the man starring in the fight is Tyler.
Can someone please explain to me how Charlie Kirk is connected to the Nicolas Cage 1998 movie?
Have you guys checked out the movie Snake Eyes by Nick Cage? I'm a big fan of Nick Cage, and I didn't even know he had this film. There is an insane connection that it has with Charlie Kirk. May he rest in peace.
But they don't go further than that. A lot of people are just like, hey, look, and that's it, which is great. It's like, we're going to go a little bit further. And then, of course, we will talk about all the similarities as well. So let me share my screen.
Keep pulling.
Can't make this shit up.
Exactly.
Cannot make this up. Love it.
Okay,
Cool.
Okay.
Oh, it's so good.
Oh, yeah.
Shout out to Alexia.
Oh, wow.
She does a lot of media.
Awesome. Thank you.
Definitely. Okay, so if you could read some of these.
Yeah, okay. So just quick refresher, predictive programming. It's this idea, and also it's a method that the media can use through music. Nowadays, video games are extremely prevalent. Films, it used to be news articles, right? And they deliberately plant events in the public subconscious, and they make those events feel expected when they occur later. So when you do see something like an assassination or a major political movement, you're not as surprised. You already have a defined sense of how to behave, how to act. And we see some of that through COVID. And I don't want to get too deep into that, but those of you listening or watching, if you can think about when 2019 just started to wrap up, Q4 in November, December, there was kind of an odd sense of anticipation for something. And then right away, right after the new year, we had this huge pandemic. and you had some people who fell right in line with, okay, this is what I need to do to stay alive. This is what I need to do to conform. This is what I need to do to stay liked. And then you had people who were not so sure. And you had people who were like, maybe I'm not being told the full truth. Maybe there's something more to this. Do I really have to wear a mask all the time? Why do I have to wear a mask when I'm waiting for a table at a restaurant? But as soon as I sit down, I can take it off. There's all this kind of back and forth, and no one really knew what to do. And it all happened super fast. So that was a form of predictive programming. How it happened, we're not really sure. But, you know, the core premise behind this is that audiences get exposed to scenarios repeatedly. And the creators, the masterminds behind this, they can really shape expectations. They could reduce public effect. They can make it less shocking, more shocking. And they kind of pave the way for real world implementation on these things. So if you haven't looked into precognitive conditioning or anticipatory narratives, go ahead and check it out. You might be surprised. You'll probably find patterns the last, maybe the last 60, 70 years you could see where they've really laid the way for a lot of these things. So worth note, honorable mention, predictive programming being used. I mean, I'm sure you've seen it too.
Oh, 1,000%. Yes, 1,000%. Actually, being as entertainment business degree, minor in audio engineering and film, I've seen, all this. Do they tell you it is predictive programming? Not really. But once you start working in the industry, and I didn't go to Hollywood or New York because it was 2008. And I just everything was, I wanted to be a big fish in a small pond, so I did.
Yeah.
But anyway, the more you are in the business, you start learning about all these things that are just like too unbelievable to be true, but they are so true. It's unbelievable.
Wow. So you were right there, on the front lines of media production, producing, and that there's sort of, I wouldn't say manipulation like that, but you can kind of seriously plant ideas in people's minds just through the content you make and the way that it's presented, the way you have camera angles, when the music is timed to show up and what kind of music is played. That all influences the audience, and you can do a lot of good.
It's manipulation.
You could do a lot of bad too. So you have to have. We just presume that the people who do executive produce and direct a lot of the media, they understand that premise. And they may lean into it 100%. They may lean into it 25%. It really depends on who's really pulling the strings. But it's there, and it's like you said, it's real.
It's real. It's real to whether if it's like if you're judging a Battle of the Bands contest in your local whatever, it goes down to that level. It's that rigged and that much mapped out to an nth degree. And once you're like. I'm spending, a lot hours and hours in recording sessions, with all different types of music, and then also editing film and being on set on certain things. You see how it's manipulated, everything in a way. And like you said, it can be for good or for bad. But they tell you like, oh, you need to punch this or make this scene look real a certain type of way so that it hooks the audience. It pulls them in, but that's AKA for mind control. This would focus on this. Correct. Yes.
And really quick, I didn't put it in here, but a really good example of what you both are explaining is the movie V for Vendetta was actually first a graphic novel comic book, and the graphic novel comic book was true to history, where it was explaining that the leftists in America, this whole communist culture was taking over the world, and it was a leftist agenda. It was going through the church. It goes back to, I always talk about vampires. It goes back to stealing King James and throwing his mom in a tower, changing his religion, changing the Bible. That's why we have King James Bible.
The Reformation.
And all these people, this group of people were called the Gunpowder Plot. It was 9 men, but we only just associate Guy Fawkes with the group, but it was really 9 different people. And yeah, they were like, the Vatican has been taken over. The Jesuit order has been taken over. They are vampires. They are parasites. We have to get them out. And of course, they're not, this was the 1600s, 1606. They were called traitors and they were killed. And it doesn't matter. Their message has still made it through the past 400 years. The only shitty part is in 2005 or 6 or whenever the movie was made, they switched the whole meaning of not only history, but the graphic novel, and they made it seem like the far right wingers were the bad people. And it's like, as much as we love that movie and stuff, it's not true. The Hollywood version is not true to what actually happened. And V for Vendetta, V was supposed to be the prince on Knight's Tale that we love. It was supposed to be him, but he found out that they switched history, and he's like, I don't want any part of this.
Heath Ledger was supposed to play
the prince.
I
don't know his name, but he found out he was supposed to be V. Some of the parts were filmed with this other guy, and he realized that they were trying to make the conservatives, the far right extremists, they were trying to make them the fascists, basically. And he's like, this isn't history. This isn't the graphic novel. I did not sign up for this. And they switched him out with Elron, and they changed the meaning of this movie. They also did that with that's why they're remaking so many things, is because A, they're trying to push a narrative, and B, they're trying to change something ever so slightly so the bad guys look like conservatives now, even though that was never the case in the past.
Never. Oh, goodness gracious. Right. So true.
I know. True. So this has been something that has always happened. We'll bring up Shakespeare later, and I mean, technically the Bible, but this has always kind of been how black magic has been used on us. We have early scholarship references to prophetic storytelling appearing in literature studies dating back to they say the 19th century. However, if you know the Greek myths and everything, it's not even myths at this point. They had oracles, these young women that were able to see the future, and they made the oracles smell or breathe in. There's no other way to say it. Worm farts, gas from serpents. And this is shown beautifully on 300. They have this young virgin girl, and she's on top of the Oracle of Delphi. She's on top of this serpent of Delphi, and it's a worm that they're having the gas release onto her, and she can see visions. She can see past, present, future, and she can tell the rich man who are enslaving her and the worm. She can tell them how like wars are going to play out, how the future is going to play out. So these oracles of Delphi were also muses, and this goes back to obviously Greek mythology. If anyone is familiar with Dune, they are very familiar with this, where on Dune, the people who lived on Arrakis, where the big, huge worms live, they lived harmoniously with the worms. And of course, they're farming the lands. The worms are under the lands. So the people of Arrakis naturally are getting this worm gas, and their eyes turn blue, and they can literally see the future. But there's bad guys who know that the worms have this ability. So the bad guys are stealing the baby worms, and they're killing the baby worms, and they're sniffing the gas of the baby worms, very much like adrenochrome. And they're using the same technology against everyone's will in a slavery type scenario. So it's like, we know that worms have the ability to apparently bend mind and space and all these different things, which is why I talk about fiction and detox, because when you're detoxing, you are killing, yes, you're getting a bunch of free radicals out of you. Yes, you're getting minerals that are not supposed to be in you out. You're getting heavy metals out of you, but you're also killing parasites who cannot handle oxygen in your body. A lot of good gut flora in our body can handle oxygen, and it's fine, but there's some bad things that they can't handle it. So you will be killing parasites. Those parasites will decompose in you and release gases inside of you. And people who have been detoxing, they notice that their dreams become very vivid. And I personally have a story time video where when I started detoxing and absorbing some of this worm die off, you do see the future. And I have a couple of my visions that have already come true when I was kind of stupid in like first awakening. So this oracle scenario has been along for a very long time. So it's important to understand the mechanism to explain how the collective imagination or zeitgeist can influence both policy, market trends, and just society in general.
Amazing. Wow. Great breakdown.
Okay. This is something I kind of cover this in all my videos. We are taught a lot more than you think we are, because in school, there's a couple things we learn in like 6th to 8th grade. And I have a problem with this because 6th to 8th grade, people are going through such big changes, especially with hormones and stuff, that they're not giving themselves the proper time frame to learn these different, very, very important things. Can you read this?
Yeah, I mean, you've heard of the double slit experiment, right?
We're not even going that far. We're just going to explain. We learn like in 7th grade how photons work. Right. Very basic.
Yeah, in the most part, I think, early on, at least in America, for those who may be international listeners, a lot of the curriculum, and Zig, I'm sure you can attest to this, it's very surface level. And what I mean, that we don't dive in super deep. We just learn about what these, photons, electrons, smaller atomic particles, what they do, and that's pretty much it. We just give them a name and we move on. We never really learn about how they interact with what we call the universe.
But no, we learn a lot. They say that it's light vibrating. We learn that much. Photons that make up matter, that make up the elements, are vibrating light particles. That's all we're told. But what is a hologram? It's vibrating light particles. So we're told in 7th grade that we live in a hologram. Everyone's just too self-conscious, not paying attention to the teacher to realize what's being said. So in the New Age movement, everyone's like, oh my God, you guys, I think we live in a hologram. It's like, no, bitch, we learned that in 7th grade. We know we live in a hologram. This isn't something new. They have to tell us what they're doing to us. They have to tell us what we are. And we are all told some of these very, very basic things. And then it's our jobs, like what Rick was saying. What do you make of that? How do you?
Yeah. Like if you look at one of the smallest observable particles, a quark, as they call it, it's light. So in this instance, if photons are light energy and you can vibrate that and create images, and if we use the largest microscopes to look at the smallest particles, they're light. So it does give a lot of truth to that of, this could be way more than we think. Way. And that, that's been also a philosophical argument for the longest time. And that's even like high school or, community college level philosophy is, are you really touching the table, that you're sitting at right now? And some people would argue at a very granular level that no, when you go down to the subatomic particle level, your skin is not interacting with the surface of the table. There's a void. There's still a gap that you can't.
Your brain
you can't
makes
get
you
to.
think you are touching things when you're not actually.
Right.
Charged protons and electrically neutral neutrons, and negatively charged electrons that revolve around the nucleus. So, at such a microscopic level, touch will be defined as the physical contact of the atoms of one thing with the atoms of another thing. Now imagine, you are going to press the button on your keyboard. The button as well as your finger are made up of some species of atoms. But according to Pauli's exclusion principle, two or more quantum particles, in this case, electrons, can't occupy the same space. So when you press the button of the keyboard, the negatively charged electrons of your finger exert the force of repulsion on the negatively charged electrons of the button. Due to this force of repulsion, you get the feeling of touch. Though it may seem that your finger has touched the button, it is still nanometers away from the button. So we never touch anything in our life, we only get the illusion of the touch.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, you guys are spot on. This is amazing. Good refresher course too.
Right. Well, and I hope and people, I mean, again, I'm just freeballing here. This is just from the heart. When in the United States, at least, and maybe it was just my experience, the information came so fast and again, so surface level that you just move on to the next thing and you don't ever quite continue to learn about it. So go back, look at photons, look at quarks, look at some atomic particles, and just, if it's interesting, refresh yourself and you'd be surprised. So now when we add that into the findings of the double slit experiment, which just again, quick refresher, scientists set up this deflector to observe. They wanted to see how these photons and electrons interacted. So they fired them out of a device and they hit a mesh screen, a subatomic screen, and they imprinted on a wall behind them. And the scientists saw a pattern. And
first they didn't. First, they were just throwing the particles at the wall, and they made no sense. No sense. It was just a bunch of particle boards hitting various points, chaos almost against the wall. But once the observers went to the side and started observing where the particles were going, then only then did the particles actually form a wave motion. They didn't change anything except for the fact that the scientists observed the particles while they were going through a slit. And then they realized, oh my goodness, just observing the particles being thrown at the wall through a slit, now they're making a wave function.
Well, it's that the particles had almost a consciousnness to them that before it was just like, oh, it's an inanimate thing. It's just a constant in the universe. It's a universal law. These are just particles, but there's more
it's not
to
alive.
it.
But
there's more to it than that.
Exactly. Well, that's yes.
So,
you guys teach in 7th grade yet?
Hey, that'd be kind of fun.
Yeah,
right.
I'd have fun.
See how long we make it.
You don't need a trap door to make holograms work. So I know we just had a event happen where people were like, I think it's a hologram that happened. And this happens with 9/11. Anytime there's a crazy event that shapes our reality, people have brought up this hologram thing. And then they have fake people come in going, oh, they tie something that has nothing to do with the
fake content creators.
Yeah. And there's still a lot on YouTube.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh my goodness, a trap door made the hologram. No, it has nothing to do with the trap door. You just need a tiny little camera technically at the very top and you can make a hologram. So things like this are often like put to the wayside because other people tie nonsense to it and then they prove the nonsense wrong, which of course it's easy to prove nonsense wrong. It's nonsense. And they throw out the entire theory. So just throwing that out there.
Changing the way you look at something can literally change the universe.
Absolutely. 100%. Because it's like, people don't realize this outside of the box thinking. It's like the technology that we have now, they mastered in the 60s and 70s. Okay.
Right.
They're on some other level of shit. So that's where I know people like you guys are thinking. But for the masses, and this isn't calling anyone dumb or whatever, it's just reality. It's just how dumbed down they have us thinking that they don't already have all this other stuff that lurks below that's about to be exposed to us, and people are going to have a hard time wrapping their head around it. But you're exactly right. 100%.
I mean, it goes beyond the 60s. Like, obviously, what you're talking about, 100%. The Vietnam War was crazy with what we learned in the experiments that were happening in Vietnam. And yes, we learned a lot of this stuff. But I mean, this is black magic, really. Like, I can read the Bible and be like, oh, that was a blue beam. Oh, that light body that no one recognized, the light body that just appeared and you can't touch the light body. That's blue beam magic. That is something that could have just definitely been put in. And of course, the Bible's been changed. So it's blasphemy to, talk about stuff like that. But I think some of this stuff has been around for a very, very long time. So if you see a alien invasion or anything of that nature, we have to remember this technology does exist.
Oh yeah. Stuff we can't even think of. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And they're playing off our emotions, like you guys were talking about earlier. They're playing off manipulation. They're playing off stress levels. And if they do an event that looks scary, everyone goes into fight or flight response, which is what a lot of our health sessions are about, is just getting you out of fight or flight so you can actually think and observe with like a rational mind.
So you can have a chance. Like,
right.
And you're not always having to go through the, what's been drilled into your head is like, all right, all I have, metaphorically speaking, is all I have is, what I've been told, and then that's it. Right. And people don't have anything else to bounce it off of. They don't have their own, maybe not as large of a bank of information that they have on their own belief system to compare things against and be able to look at things impartially. It's just, you only have one thing to fit it in. And so when you hear new information, you're like, well, this doesn't fit. This can't work. This is incompatible. And then you become angry, and then you become confused further, and then you never really quite get to the truth at all. And that's what's really not good.
Yeah.
Like
Rick,
that.
you said it perfect, man.
Thank you.
Like you said, what I said right here, I love your slide. Why the Bible is important, even if it is edited, which we know it's copyright, editing. How many different versions? Like 100 and let's just say 170 different versions at least of the Christian Bible right around now. And even if these myths or these Shakespeare, all this stuff, I'll let you guys explain it, but I'm just reading this and it's like, this is true. Yeah.
Even if it's edited, I think, people can still, the word of God can't be edited. Nobody could change that, but the interstitial stories and how it all pieces together and how it reads and how certain words are substituted for other words of the, I know it wasn't 100% translated for the ancient Hebrew, but when they had the Greek version come out, those, if you read some of the Old Testament, some of the New Testament, how it was translated, it does hit differently. Just changing a few words can change how somebody,
from what I understand,
looking for truth can define their own relationship with God, I suppose.
We don't have the ancient Hebrew.
Absolutely.
No, we don't.
We don't know the codex for ancient Hebrew. We have this new language of Hebrew that was made in the late 1800s that switched around a bunch of Hebrew words. It's kind of like how Yoda talks, where they switched around adjectives and stuff. So like the simple I love you, if you say I love you and you switch around words, it's you love me. So that's very different when you come to cult and religions. So that's kind of the idea of a lot of these older books were written in ancient Hebrew, which we don't even know what it is, changed to Greek, a new Hebrew took it over. So of course there's stuff like that. And it's, to me, the Bible is allegories. And to me, the people who always knew the Bible, even 2,000 years ago, they knew it was allegories. They knew that certain stories had nothing to do with the actual story. It was telling something bigger. So for
predictive programming.
Yeah, exactly. They wanted to tell you there's certain things to watch out for. And like, for example, the story of Moses. The story of Moses, he was a man who worked with God and he listened to God and he was able to free millions of people, supposedly. But at the end of the day, he got cocky because he was a man and he... Not just a man, but he was a one person. He wasn't being held accountable. He was just one person. So he got cocky and apparently he wasn't allowed into this promised land. He was still able to do God's job. He was still able to free people, but he himself got cocky and he wasn't able to get the good outcome of himself. Shakespeare. So the Bible and Shakespeare are two of the most read literary sources of all humanity. The Bible was the very, very first book written on the printing press. It's the most sold book ever. It's the most read book ever, especially the First Testament is read by 75% of the world. And then the Second Testament, Christianity, is still read by a bunch of other people. So it's still in the zeitgeist. The events of the Bible, regardless if it was edited, people think they're going to happen. So regardless if it was added or not, it's going to kind of sort of happen. But Shakespeare as well, regardless if it was written by Francis Bacon or even some say a woman pretending to be Francis Bacon, pretending to be Shakespeare. Those stories, they still share this idea, like Macbeth, Hamlet, of one man, a leader, gaining all this power and like losing it because he gets a huge ego, which is similar to the Moses story, the Pharisees of the Bible. It's like if there's one ambitious leader, it will no matter what lead to moral decay, and it will no matter what lead to that leader's downfall. And why I want to go into this whole season on WikiLeaks, we've been kind of going through the steps of masonry. Everyone's so scared of masonry. Well, let's look at it. Everyone just goes, oh my God, this is Mason. It's like, what does it mean though? I don't know. And like, they don't know. They have this fear to them. So it's like, okay, let's break it out. Let's look at the steps. So the idea is
well, right. And I'm going to let Alexia finish, but again, pointing out the consistency of if they've programmed people to be so afraid that they won't look or seek knowledge, you have to be aware of that. If you're standing there saying, you know what, this might be scary, and I know it makes me uncomfortable, but I'm going to have some courage, I'm going to have strength, and I'm going to seek knowledge that may help me uncover the truth. And through that search, you're going to find some things that may make you uncomfortable, but it's going to brighten your universe. Like we said before, take a step to the right, look at something from a different perspective and watch how it can change you for the better. And that you don't have to become a Mason, but you're going to have to understand some of the rules and how they operate to make sense of it all. That's all.
If symbolism is going to be their downfall, okay, what does the symbolism mean?
I don't know. No.
Right.
Right. Look,
if you don't know what it means, then it's like watching a game film on your opponent. Whether it's football, soccer, UFC. You're going to watch. You want to know what your opponent's strategies are. We're in a spiritual war here, good versus evil, and we need a lot of us. Are just now learning how the evil really operates and how in our face and real in plain sight every day it affects us. So we have a lot of catching up to do, us as a species, but that's why we're here, and you guys do a great job with this. But this, wow, I'm stunned. You said it. You guys are saying it perfectly. It's just what needs to be said. 100.
The reason why, again, we love to use pop culture references. Just it makes it palatable. And if you looked at Jumanji, great movie, rest in peace, Robin, and Zathura, which I believe also was a book.
It's the same.
They're just the premise here, real quick, before we get to the next slide, is that there's an ongoing game. Even if people might have stopped playing, like in Jumanji, they started when they were kids, and then something tragic happened. And the dark magic of the game said, the game was still on for all of those years, and nobody knew until they opened it back up, rolled the dice, and they started the game back up. You have to finish it. So there could be something happening here on the planet that, maybe God started something, or it's just been the whole human condition. But this has been an ongoing, like you said, spiritual battle that hasn't ended, even if we've been programmed to forget. Even if we've been programmed to be desensitized to it,
scared. Everyone,
we're scared. It's happening, and we're gonna have to go through and finish this game together.
Speaking of, obviously, we're gonna get to the Snake Eyes movie, but we watched The Apprentice, and in one of the first Apprentice seasons, Trump, he hosts this dinner, like he hosts a premiere of Zathura, which is basically Jumanji. It's a space version of Jumanji. And it's a really scary game. It's almost an evil game. But if you start it, you have to finish it. And what happens with Jumanji and Zathura is there's people who get scared once they make their first move, and they're like, "Oh my God, stop playing the game! Stop playing the game!" It's like, you can't. You have to finish what you start, even though it is a scary, scary game. And this is why I'm okay with people not waking up. There's a lot of people who are like, "Oh, I can't believe the sheep haven't woken up," and it's almost like you kind of want to wait until the last moment possible, because what happens if people wake up too early? They realize the game is going on, and they just become jaded and scared. And they're like, well, I don't want to play. Don't play. And it's like, you're no help. Like, I'd rather deal with a liberal who was vaccinated and is like coming to realizations of like, oh my God, I was lied to, rather than someone who's been awake for 20, 30, 40 years, because they have all these preconceived notions and fear around the rules, and they don't even play at all. So sometimes new people who wake up to the game at the very last second are more powerful than the people who've been up for 20, 30 years. And in Jumanji and Zathura, it's literally about gaining all the people. You have to gather all the characters who started. Everyone kind of hates each other because the game makes you hate each other, but everyone's scared of each other. Everyone's scared of playing the game. And most of the movie is just getting the 4 to 5 people to get together and play. So it's teamwork. So as the Bible and Shakespeare told us, if you have one ambitious leader, he's going to fail. If you have a team like Jumanji and Zathura working together, even though they do have to follow the shitty rules and they're scared together, they usually make it out and they win. So that's the ultimate thing of these different games. And that's why we cover D&D. You have to make a party. You have to make a group. You have to make a peoples.
Yeah, right. And that's why I think, that's an extremely important reason of the existence of what Sarge and everybody said with the Icons community. And, us talking was not by coincidence. This is not a game. Just like you said, we came back. We're alive during this time for this exact reason, whether other people awaken or not. Right. Exactly. And just like I meant to say this earlier when I had a brain fart, I was like, when you were talking about, we know how Hebrew and Arabic wasn't really until the 1800s, and then we learn about how somebody inserted the rapture in the 1800s, and a lot of people are waiting for that. And this, I was a rapture believer for quite some time too, no lie. But I think there is a rapture. It's just reverse. It's like a Mother Earth getting birthed and all the shitheads are going to hell. We get to stay and rebuild. I could be wrong. I could be right. I don't know. Either way, I just know we're going to somewhere better than this shit. You know what I mean?
And what you said is perfect. I think we talk on that is like you are calling your own outcomes. And I also tell people to look at the most basic ways of things, how they work. Watch how water goes through a dry riverbed and how the water forms its own path. These things are true for a little tiny riverbed as well as how humanity moves. Like the very basics of things is how everything works. So mitosis is how everything is made, is how life is created, is the biggest magic that the Satanists try to use. They can't create life. They can't create anything. That's why they enslave us. Mitosis is the God spark of something, a human or a plant being made, and it's a cell going through the birth process and splitting into two. So yes, a lot of us do think that this general idea is the rapture, where our one reality will split into two, and wherever you fall, wherever you believe can happen, if you have doubt, if you have fear, if you have hatred, you're going to be on the negative timeline of the mitosis cell breaking. And if you are grateful, if you are hopeful, if you have faith, and you are doing more for your others than for yourself, then you'll be on the good outcome, which is very much of a rapture kind of story, but it's also just how everything works in our society anyway.
I'm so happy sorry, I'm just nerding out because she's bringing up, those ultra small photons that occurs during mitosis. When a cell splits, you can see light. There's a light particle, a photon that's emitted. It's called the UPE, and they've documented this. And that's like that's like when you turn on your TV and it starts from the middle, and all the particles, or the pixels rather, light up. It's the same type of premise to me. It makes sense.
Exactly. Like they put that in there because they have to show us what they're going to try to do. But the way they put it in there, like you said, no matter what they did to try to screw up the Bible, source's word still prevailed. No matter which way you cut it. And okay, well, you're going to do that. Well, I'm going to bring back, my most loyal servants. And here we are. And, it is what it is. just like you said, it's doing the thing. The metatosis, it's like the people that just want to sit there and have information fed to them, and instead of being like, no, wait, hold on a second, let me do my own research and not just watch videos and stuff, and really take notes, compare and contrast. This is what I do, you know. I then pray on it, meditate on it, whatever, let it sit, think about it, research it some more, and you know, it's an ongoing process, you know, that's the beauty of it, because if you know the answer, then you know it kind of takes the fun out of it, you know. Or at least the mystery. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you do that. I think the more people that you can help influence to do that, the better, because things like a political ideology, it shouldn't be 100% of one's identity. You know, and you shouldn't, and it's not fair to be judged like that either. And that's why it hurts on social media when people are looking for information, they're trying to share ideas, and they get labeled or judged just because they might lean a certain way. That's not 100% that person's ideology. You can't identify them that way. And that's what hurts. And that's what people try and fight back and say, hey, I'm not, you know, this or that. And it just goes too far. And that's all part of the priming and confirmation bias and social learning. It all fits in, and that's why it's such a mess. And whoever's in control, they know that. They understand they can't cover up the truth 100%, but they can certainly make it a big challenge for people to even be heard, listened to, or have their own thought. And that's what we see the most.
Yeah, absolutely. They make it because it's more comfortable to go along with the herd. People don't want to get out of their couch, their bubble, their little routine or whatever, to be uncomfortable, let's just say, or to you know, change is the hardest thing to do at times, you know, but there's a reason why.
And it's only the only constant too. It's the hardest thing to do, but it's the only thing we know is going to happen for sure is change. Right.
You know, I look back on how many times, I mean, as a kid, I always had to be the new kid when when my dad was getting transferred a lot. And it wasn't until like 4th grade and 5th grade when I ended up in Fishers, Indiana, right outside of Indianapolis. And, you know, I thank God, you know, we stopped moving after that, but I always had to be the new kid, but I always got to adjust and adapt and learn from all types of different people and learn how to battle that and basically learn how to fight at a bus stop.
Yeah, that's a unique experience in and of itself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You know, when you're getting picked on, I mean, I'm the firstborn, you know, I got a little sister, so I'm protective too. You know, so you know, my father was working, my mom was working. You're at the bus stop by your house. You're by yourself. What are you gonna do? Shit, it is what it is. But you gotta step outside your element to learn, and not everyone's experience has to be the same. But you know, in doing that, you learn so much, you grow so much, and learning so much about different people, different cultures, and how much you really have in common. Then you think you don't, just because you're labeled a Republican, Democrat, liberal, whatever. I mean, I'm old enough to remember back in the 90s, it was a golden rule to never bring up politics and never bring up other shit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And right? I also went to 11 different schools by 11th grade. My parents moved a lot. And it's interesting, and it's an experience no one else can learn, because I went from like living in at Los Angeles County, where it's a very diverse culture, and we had a lot of Asian and Black friends, and you grew up with them, and then you move to a very conservative white town, and the way that the white people who are trying to be cool talk about the culture you came from, they have no idea about it. And it's like, I saw both sides of the spectrum. And of course, there's no explaining your experience to other people. So I often think about that. There's no better thing than putting yourself in a uncomfortable position and learning to feel uncomfortable. And I know a lot of Gen Z has anxiety over everything. And this is largely in part to 2020. And they were exposed, especially in 2020, to hate their neighbor, exposed to hate anyone who thinks different than them. And this goes into the foundations of like what we're talking about, predictive programming. So exposure to a stimulus subtly influences later responses. We're seeing that with all these liberals who just hate anyone who wants to keep to a moral compass, maybe family values, maybe finding faith again.
How dare you?
How dare you? Oh, you're a far right supremacist. And it's like, no, I just know that my husband has to be over me. And then we are both over our children. And then comes family, church, whatever. And so many people in our like growing up, how many people do you know who put the kids above everything? Who put the kids' soccer practice above everything, who, especially in my age group, girl boss, and the woman is above the man. So things are happening out of this biblical order. And it's like, yeah, the Bible might be edited, but the biblical order always works best for how the household should be ran. And we have not been running our households that way. And that's why society has really gone down. I mean, even so much as a 40-hour work week job is coming above God, men, women, and that can even change how a family is supposed to be ran.
Absolutely. 100%. 100%.
Okay, schema, formation, repeated story patterns over and over again. They just keep making old movies, old books over and over again. Yeah. Then you have confirmation bias. Once a narrative is internalized, people notice real world matches and overlook mismatches. Social learning, observing model behavior, even fictional, informs expectations of what is normal.
What is normal? Great question.
That's a very good question. If anybody wants to comment on what they think normal is these days, let us know. Because
I don't know.
I'd like to know. I'd really like to know.
That's all we heard. You know, get the shot. Everything will just go back to normal. Back to normal. I just want everything to go back to normal. No, never went back. We're never going back to normal.
It was never normal either. It was satanic. Right. We were used to it. It was comfortable, but it was not normal in the way that humans should live.
Right. Oh man,
Zig, I love your energy.
I know. I was like,
I love y'all. I'm feeding off y'all's energy. Trust me, because I love.
So I mean, prepare because what's coming up next. I mean, so we're gonna kind of set the table for the more predictive programming, the whole call your shots analogy where, we want to announce intended moves before even executing it. Sometimes in strategy, lawfare, warfare, this is a prevalent way of tactics, but we're going to talk about, sports parallels, cognitive echoes, where a verbal cue can kind of reinforce a motor plan in the brain and kind of give you, again, these subconscious processes, people are real, and you need to be, you can't be in complete control of your subconscious, but you can certainly help put your subconscious on your subconscious on a path that won't be so easily corrupted. And media parallels with this, with books, films, they will, like we said, the predictive programming calls of future events like a disaster, a technology breakthrough, an assassination. You're already primed. You're ready to go for this sort of scenario. And it can really lower the resistance when it later materializes. And so where this comes into play, I think your next slide is
video games for sure. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
This movie that's everyone's been talking about. I had never heard of this. Zig, I don't know if you heard of this being around. I don't know about it. No idea. Right. And I'm a Nick Cage fan. I was around in 1998. Never heard of this.
Gone in 60 Seconds. What was the other one? Con Air. Yep. Oh yeah.
Face Off.
Mm-hmm. Face Off. Yep. Oh, there's a bunch of them. Say, Gary Sinise was in Forrest Gump. You know what I mean?
Yes.
There's a lot of who was it? There was another dude, Kevin from Home Alone 2's dad was in that movie. Whatever his name is.
That's who he was. Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I don't know his name. That's who he was. I forgot.
Yeah.
I know. I just remember when Lexi said Elrond instead of Hugo Weaving, it just cracks me up because I know exactly what she's talking about.
And you know what's funny is that Brian De Palma, the same dude who did Scarface, did this movie. And when Scarface was a dud when it went out in theaters, it didn't become a legend till later. So maybe this was meant to be one of those type of things.
Again, yeah, exactly. Like they made it, and it's been sitting there for almost, 15 years, just waiting. But if you guys listening, watching, if you haven't checked out this movie, it's worth a weekend watch. It's like an hour and a half long,
and it's really well filmed. It gets a really bad we're so used to shitty acting nowadays and shitty like production budgets, and if Hollywood, if they get a budget, like 90% of it is just on marketing, and it's not towards good CGI or good filming or good actors anymore. So it's really refreshing to look at these 1990s movies because they hold up. They're still good. We'll go over a couple of these things, but
no spoiler alerts. But I mean, it's more about, what we wrote here is just to kind of, again, tie in what we were talking about of predictive programming, the calling your shots. There's a missile guidance system that's theoretical in the movie that is kind of the central point of the whole plot. And once you get going, it starts to reveal itself. But this missile system is like it's a missile defense prediction system where the idea is that they're going to put this on, warships in the Navy, and it's going to help protect them from incoming missiles. Cause that's really, these days, we're far, far from cannonballs. Now it's missiles. And that's how you take down ships from miles and miles away. You lock onto a radar signature and you fire missiles at each other, and you have to use missiles to counter the missiles. It's part of the defense strategy. So in this movie, there's a corrupt group in the military who want to release this half-baked military missile defense system, and there's people trying to stop that from happening. And they get caught up in a whole whirlwind of mess, and it drags in the public, it drags in friends, it really brings a lot of things together. And that whole mechanism of predictive programming, you can't miss it. And that's not only are there characters like Charles Kirkland inside the movie,
Charles James Kirkland.
Yeah, oh my gosh, like when I heard that, I was like, we are watching this movie.
Yeah, Tyler.
Yeah, the killer is Tyler. Or no.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah.
I mean, did you watch what did you think about it when you were watching it, and like what else did you pick up throughout the movie that we might be kind of glossing over?
Everything you said so far was like, okay, the Secretary of Defense got shot, and his name was what? Charles Kirkland? Are you shitting me?
In the neck?
In the neck.
Like in the same spot.
Right. With somebody that looks like his wife coming up right next to him, handing what later
blonde hair, the whole white outfit as a disguise. Like not everything is what it seemed like at the beginning of the movie. You think she might be in on it, but they don't give you any clues. You have to figure it out as you go along. Exactly.
Yeah. And then another one I kept hearing was, "Here comes the pain. Here comes the pain." And that's a famous cue drop. And also I noticed, I mean, there's just so much here.
I didn't even.
And the storm. There's a storm going on.
Oh yeah, the whole storm.
So the whole thing is that
Thunder
there's
rumbling.
a storm outside.
It's like it's just a trop. It's just a little.
And she even joked. She's like, "We're even lying about the weather." And it's like the media is aware that they're even being made to falsify.
And it's happening at like what it's happening in Trump's real Taj Mahal.
Yes, and it's Trump's actual.
Yeah.
So the whole thing. Okay, so if for those who aren't aware of how gambling or casinos work.
This very lucky casino we own. Someone wins $1 million every hour.
Usually it's us.
33 black. Everyone lose.
House is actually the winner. So Snake Eyes.
I won.
Snake Eyes actually means that the house always wins. So the house in this movie is Trump's Taj Mahal. He is setting a predictive program saying, "I'm the house. I'm going to win." This is the predictive programming Trump was doing back in the 90s. Now, what people don't realize is there was a lot of stuff happening in the 90s with a very specific group of people. We know that Princess Diana, JFK Jr., and Donald Trump met up. And then shortly after Diana died in 1997, Jr. died was it 98 or 2000?
99.
Okay, so then
It was-
Junior died in 99. And then so all these things happened in this time frame. Princess Diana died with this guy who made a movie about like Dodie. He was the producer on Hook, and he made another movie about how to fake your death and do something very tragic, and you get to escape because everyone thinks you died. So these are things that were made in this couple year time frame of this movie.
Not a coincidence.
No.
Totally not.
So we had to mention when we were on the show with you today, because I don't, there's a lot about it coming out right now and again. There's a lot of, I would call it the counter information where people are just going to call you insane for even pointing out some of these similarities. But how could you not? I mean,
yeah,
right. I like you suggest. If you have Amazon Prime, you can watch it there for free. I'm pretty sure you can watch it if you look. You can find it anywhere. They're probably trying to scrub a lot of it or redo right now. That was my thing, but everything, I mean, is just like one. It's Israel's involved, right?
That's
corrupt.
right.
The whole anti-missile defense thing that this woman who was trying to give she was working, because everything's so compartmentalized in the military, as you guys know. She didn't know that this anti-missile defense system that they were going to use and sell for $1 billion to the DOD or whatever. They cooked the books on that, and they were like, yeah, it's 98% accuracy, and it was really like 48% accurate or lower. And this girl was trying to expose it. And, anyway, she got caught up in the corruption. But then I saw just so much similarities. And I mean, like you said, the dude that Secretary of Defense that gets killed is, what was it? Charles Kirkland. Are you kidding me?
I know. Unbelievable. In the same day that our Charlie got shot. I mean, what?
It was in September around the same time.
Things I'm like, I know for some people, like, oh, that's just a coincidence, and I'm going to use that as my deflection for my own, logic. But I mean, that's almost mathematically impossible. Where have we heard that before?
And then here comes the pain. That's the famous Q quote. I mean, whatever you want to call. I mean, here comes the pain. And then the boxer's name was Tyler versus Ruiz, and there was a Tyler. There was a boxing match pay-per-view that something to do with that weekend, right? At the same on that same time frame,
like a fight,
whatever. It was right after, and it was literally looks like exactly what you see in the movie. And it was the assassin was a Palestinian, right? They're talking about this Norfolk test that the Secretary of Defense once he got fed this information from the lady, it was going to be like, what the hell? He was going to call it all off. And the people, the corrupt commanders and generals were like, no, we want that. That's too big of money. And they
wanted money. They wanted it to forward their agenda. And we can see that happening today, and where people, corrupt people want their agenda to continue. And if anybody stands in the way of that, they're going to take you out.
All has to do with money too. The love of money is the root of all evil. Money isn't the root of all evil. It's the love of money. What you do with that money.
It's just a tool.
Idolatry of money, which is nothing.
Yeah.
And if it's not your main goal, then you'll get, if money's your main goal, it's not going to end well for you. If your main goal is getting the truth out there, if your main goal is helping people, saving people, and money just happens to come along to help your mission, that's being used as a tool, and that's fine. But if you're just doing something for money, that's totally different. Also
100%.
When we're looking at this
Atlantic City Executioner. That's what Tyler's name was.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's why that's what was so crazy. Is it Tyler the Executioner?
That was
also his name in the movie.
Nickname.
Yeah.
Yes. His name was Tyler something, but then it was, how it's like, Rocky the Italian Stallion Balboa. Tyler the Executioner Googly Woo. Or but
basically.
Who was the guy? Who's the guy that got this? Tyler Robinson, this generic white boy. Give me a break. You can't.
And
make
it was
this up.
fake. Tyler faked the fall in the movie. Tyler was told it was a pansy, and that's kind of what people are assuming with this kid Tyler Robinson. As much as it feels gross to even think that, if they're doing it to us, we have to think about it being a possibility. Now the whole. I want to kind of talk about the missile, and if you see the main screen, Nicolas Cage is doing the hand mudra of this, and it's not. Everyone's like, it's a Masonic sign, and it's like, no, it's again just a tool that has been used for millennia. And I wanted to talk on it because it kind of does have to do with both predictive programming and missile prediction. Doing that hand mudra. The spear, it's like the head of the spear, basically. So the spear hand focuses life force, chi, prana, I call it spirit, Holy Spirit, into a narrow like piercing line. This makes a weaponized gesture, not only physically, but energetically. Initiation and command, it's symbolic language. The spear hand calls the strike, pointing towards what is pierced, revealed, and brought into reality. This is why it's used for predictive context, almost like saying this is where the strike will land. Esoterically, the spear is the first to enter the breach. It is used as a mark to point out or claim a space before others move in. When combined with predictive programming, the hand form visually signals to the subconscious, here is the event that will manifest. It is cinematic, head of the spear, the tip of narrative destiny. And then elemental meaning, downward triangle, water, intuition, subconscious, emotional realm, with the line through it is earth, matter, grounding. Portal or seal, it symbolizes a channeling of energy downwards into the material plane, calling spirit into matter. Remember, we live in a hologram. You can change the photons if you put your intent towards it. This is doing just that. It's a protective symbol. It is the woman's womb. That's, if you put this on a woman, it's her little the manifestation of all humans, basically. It's our womb, and that's where the biggest manifestation happens. Occult function in ritual work, it can be used to seal an intention, literally holding the thought form inside the triangle to anchor it. Pinpointing an event, it's naming the thing, it's calling the event. The downward triangle grounds the idea into reality, and this is the main. If you look up the movie, look up the movie, Nicolas Cage is doing it. So this is the head of the spear. It doesn't matter if it's good or bad. It's just a tool. We're looking past the scary things, how we understand things have been used against us. Yes, bad people have used the same signal to do their own bidding, but we're looking at it for this video.
So that's wow. And that's just from, just this one plot, an hour and 30-minute movie. It's got a lot into it. It's pretty wild.
And like you stated earlier, this isn't some cheesy movie, low budget movie. This had me intrigued. Like, I literally, like I said, I got 4 pages of notes here, and I would literally rewind stuff, and then I put the closed captions on. Like, did this dude really just say that?
Oh wow!
Yep, he did. That's just how I get. Because as a editor, producer, I know how things work, so I get in. And I have appreciation for it, But did you guys notice how the shooter, they had 2? It was like Miller Lite. It said Miller on both sides of the entrance.
Yeah, I remember that.
And when there's this view and you're seeing it from the ring side where Nicolas Cage is, and all you see is MM and like a thing. So I'm thinking MM13, Mason. That's what I'm thinking, Mason.
Pastor
and the
Mason.
Dude pops out. Yeah, exactly. 13, what? Yeah. Some, MM, whatever, Eminem.
Yes.
Anyway, the assassin who was a Palestinian, who didn't want Israel to get that, happens to be shot, and the dude, the corrupt admiral, was just in the right place at the right time that shot through it and killed the guy and took him out or whatever. But the assassin that killed Charles Kirkland right in the neck popped out of the eye. It was the letter I, Miller, Like if you're
Yeah.
looking at like Miller on both sides, like he popped out the one eye, boom, right below the M. That's where he took the kill shot, and then dude took him. The other guy took him out from inside there. Yeah, it's all the symbology, and it all will be extremely familiar, especially the eye in the sky.
I was
Oh my
going to say
God,
the
it's
eye in the
everywhere.
sky. It ultimately saved them. It ultimately brought truth when Nicolas Cage did finally realize, let's look at the footage from the Eye of Providence. And that's a big thing with reading Masonic maps. And me and Rick did a video like 3 videos ago, a month ago on my channel. It's called Reading the Map. And he has really, really bad audio in it. Like you can hardly understand what Rick is saying. And me and Jenny Constantine covered this in our Mummy episode. Men cannot tell the secret. If a man is telling these deep, deep secrets of like how certain Masonic things work, like they're, especially men who were in the military, they were taken an oath. They went through MEPS. They had to get vaccinated. Everyone in the military does. That is a force of injection. There's all this stuff that puts men in a brotherhood, and men cannot tell the secrets. So me and Rick did the video explaining how to read the map, and a lot of it is this esoteric Masonic ritualism, and you cannot hear Rick. So me and Jenny had to get together and do the video, and we talk about it a little bit better. But basically, when you're reading a Masonic map, you have to find the Eye of Providence, which is the highest form, like it's the celestial object in a map. Is there a sun? Is there a moon? And in the Q post, there's a bunch of maps, and they're like, learn to read the map. Everyone pretends that they know about the symbolism, but no one actually does. Because if you actually look at some of these different Q posts, and we cover it in both the Mummy and the Read the Map video we did on WikiLeaks, we show some of the different Q posts, and it's like the photo that they're having us look at has a sun. That's the Eye of Providence. You have to go there to get the truth. And that's what happens in this movie. The Nicolas Cage finds the Eye of Providence. It has its own little camera. And that's when he realizes, oh shit, my friend, who I thought was my friend, was in on it the whole time. And he learns the ultimate truth when he finally looks at the evidence from the eye, the all-seeing eye.
Even after that lady told him, he still couldn't believe it. He saw the proof of it after the eye in the sky, and they were like, yeah, we call it the zero gravity flying eye, and it was first time used today or whatever. And and it just, then coincidentally, the corrupt lieutenant comes in and sees him looking at it, and they realize what's up, and it's just backstabbing after backstabbing, corruption after corruption, all over what? The love of money and some bullshit. Just basically where we're at now. I even wrote down all the numbers they used in there because I want to go look at the Q drops and see.
Yes.
I could go. Oh, and the reporter was Lou Logan. Think of Laura Logan, maybe. I don't know. Put that out there. There's
very similar.
The
first. In the movie, when I know it's just quick sides, Nick Cage meets kind of a side character who's really not important, but she has a big number 7, and she's there to support the fight. And where she happens to be seated is right below where the shooter is going to attack from. And I didn't notice it, but if you rewind it, they do show the shooter. You're just not looking at the shooter. You're looking at 7 because that's your distraction. And that's like what the audience becomes Nick Cage, his perspective. But if you rewind it and you look back, they're showing the guy pop out with the gun, so they're putting it in plain sight. You could have seen, be like, wait, what's about to happen if you're not distracted. But I loved how they filmed this movie. They did a really good job with the cinematography by telling the story. And my point about the cinematography is that even if you're being guided down one perspective, you still have the freedom to look beyond what you're seeing in the frame and pick out details that
and
are
watch
pertinent.
it over and over and over again, because they do show that on the movie. How many times do we see the shooting happen from a slightly different perspective each time, and you learn new stuff every time you watch it. So that there's something when I do this stuff, a lot of people are like, oh yeah, I saw Transformers like 10 years ago. I've seen it already. I'm like, well, watch it again. watch it again. You'll get something new every time. And we're more awake now than we were 6 months ago, 2 years ago, 10 years ago. I will watch Harry Potter, and I have read the whole series 3 times. I have watched all the movies over 100 times each, not lying. And I still pick up tiny little things each and every time because we're going to get in more into this with predictive programming of Da Vinci. Alrighty. Is there anything? I'm going to go to the next slide. Is there anything else you have written in your notes?
Yes. Is there any other key points
Snake eyes
that you haven't made that you wanted to bring up? What else you got?
Oh, the Jezebel Hurricane, the secret stadium accesses they were showing.
Oh yeah, the tunnels.
Oh yeah,
the tunnels and the cement trucks outside of the tunnels. They were calling it the Millennial Globe. Basically, and the ending is fate intervenes and truth prevails. God source always wins. That's how it ends. We'll put it like
nothing
that.
Can stop what's coming.
Yes.
Here comes the pain. They said it 3 times at the end, over and over and over again, because that was the call for, okay, here comes the shot. The shot heard around the world. I wonder. You put that into perspective as well, but it's just kind of like, it excites me because it's like, like you said, the vintage 90 movies that we love, that are so well produced, so well written, cinematography, everything. Like, because Brian De Palma, who also did Scarface, he did other things, but this dude knows how to direct a movie, right? And keep a storyline and keep you guessing. Because you're like, what? No way.
Yes.
And you'll recognize a lot of familiar faces in the movie, as you do in a lot of different 90 movies. The main guy who said, he was like, how many cameras are in this casino? He said, like, I don't know, 34 or 100, 34 in the stadium and then like 100 something in the casino, right? And the dude who he's doing in the going over this in the security room, I guess the control room, is the guy from Dumb and Dumber, who's the gas man, who's trying to hunt down Jim Carrey and what's his name in it. You see all these, just like Gary Sinise and Forrest Gump, Lieutenant Dan,
Lieutenant Dan.
Ice cream, Lieutenant Dan, ice cream.
Right.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. It was unbelievable.
It was a great movie. If you haven't seen it by now, check it out.
I wonder if Nick Cage is going to come out and say
I know. What did Nick Cage think when the Charlie Kirk thing happened? Like, did he even remember? Like, oh shit! Like, we did this
and
movie.
Even at the end of the movie, it kind of like turns that way where he's presented as a hero. I don't want to spoil it too much, but it shifts. Like after a couple of years, they do like these quick news montages where it's like now he's fallen out of the public eye. People start to doubt him, or they try to blackmail him, but he doesn't let it affect him. But yeah, that's interesting. I wonder.
We could go through all of his movies. He has done some esoteric. I mean, he is
that's our
National Treasure.
Next episode.
He is like the stuff that Nick Cage has done. Face Off, with so many people in our reality thinking everyone's a hologram. At the very best, we do know there's some crazy surgical, like plastic surgery that people can do and literally change their appearance. It doesn't even have to be a mask. It can be their literal skin. And that's the movie Face Off. He gets a completely new identity. And I think a lot of people have done this. I think a lot of people we're seeing on the stage are not who they say they are. Very interesting.
Yes.
Thank you for covering this with us.
I love interesting, and I love Ricky Leaks because thank you guys for having me on. This is beautiful.
We have a couple more. Do you still have time?
Yeah. I can only still see the first slide where it says Snake Eyes isn't about mystical mind control device.
Yeah. So now,
now it's switched. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
So this Margaret Cavendish Blazing World Multiverse, written back.
Watch this video on YouTube.
Yeah.
It's by Great Books Professor, but the Blazing World Margaret Cavendish Multiverse. She was the first science fiction writer ever. Everyone who has written science fiction after her, from Jules Verne, Tolkien, C.S. Lewis, the guy who wrote like War of the Worlds, all those all of the best science fiction. H.G. Wells. They have all mentioned that they got their idea from Margaret Cavendish's multiverse. We know of multiverses because of this woman. She was actually part of the whole like Cavendish bloodline, which is part of the gunpowder plot. But she was about 60 years after the gunpowder plot. All the people were killed from it. So because there was this huge reformation happening at the time, she was this old school royalty that she locked herself in her house for like 8 years, and she wrote this Blazing World book. And like when I describe the Blazing World, you're like, oh, that's from this other movie. That's from this other movie, because so many people have written books because of this woman. And The Blazing World 1666 is often called one of the finest works of science fiction and first. It tells the story of a young woman who is abducted and taken through a portal at the North Pole into a parallel world, the Blazing World. There she finds a utopian society ruled by talking animal people, bear men, bird men, fish men who serve as scientists, philosophers, soldiers. She becomes empress of this world. She uses her position to explore science, politics, and philosophy. She describes the Blazing World as a separate universe accessed through the North Pole, essentially a parallel reality. She suggests that the Earth has its own order, and then the Blazing World has a different set of laws of nature and their own rules, different climates, different creatures. This implies that multiple worlds could exist within its own logic and physical principles and surprisingly modern ideas. Science she explores you brought this up early,
microscopy and telescopy. So using these massive telescopes that are almost humorously large to look at the smallest particles that we have. And that's what we have to. We use common microscopes and we can only see so far. So then you need bigger lenses. You need bigger electronics to zoom in further on these fractals, and you start seeing more these structures that are at the smallest micro levels, and then you can't go any further. So then you need another microscope, and it just goes on and on.
And you brought up earlier that the smallest particle was a quark, and they found out that's not even true. They found out something smaller, and it's all light.
Smaller than a quark.
Like the more you look, the more you'll find, and there is the limit does not exist. With as high as you go and as low as you go. So she was bringing up these principles that we now know to be true. And she was saying it in the 400 years ago. And like, no one even knows who she is. People only learn about her if they go to Ivy League schools. People didn't even understand what she was talking about until like the late 1800s. Then her work started coming back into the consciousness. And when I watched the Pirates of the Caribbean, the Elizabeth Swann story in Pirates of the Caribbean is what Margaret Cavendish did. She was stolen by pirates. She was a governor's daughter or something. She was stolen by pirates. On Pirates of the Caribbean, they are on the pirate ship and they have to go to this really cold area, and they go and they flip into this other dimension, and then they flip back. Like, Pirates of the Caribbean is her journey, basically. And
very similar.
Very, very similar.
So yeah, we've got to talk about Margaret Cavendish when it comes to this, because
she's the first like predictive programming, when you understand like everything we watch nowadays kind of comes from her.
And I mean, again, Lexi could attest to this. I'm a nerd. I'm a geek. I love sci-fi things. I love Star Wars. I love Star Trek. I love science, traditionally in the sense. And I had never heard that Margaret Cavendish was kind of the driving factor for all of the things that I have passions for as a hobby. So it's absolutely fascinating. Dig into it, check it out. Let us know what you think.
I can't wait. You learn something new every day. I hadn't heard her name until.
Oh yeah.
Wow, this is incredible. Like nothing new under the sun. Right. So it's hilarious. That makes perfect sense. I'm glad I will. This is extremely interesting. I didn't mean to cut you off. Sorry.
No, not at all. No, I was just going to shout out Great Books Professor. He put this great video together. It's pretty short.
It's only a 16-minute video, but it's mind blowing.
It's a good place to springboard from. So hat tip to him.
Okay. All right.
Okay. And she even mentions it. She's like, I have no power, time, occasion to conquer the world, like Alexander and Caesar did, but I can make my own world. And she realized kind of what we were saying, life is a hologram. You can literally make and call the outcomes as you wish. Very similar. There's another movie made in 2000. It's called Frequency. It has Dennis Quaid and the guy who plays Jesus. And it's a really good movie. And it's a father-son communicating across time and space because there's an electromagnetic storm happening. So the son is on his ham radio and he's talking to this random guy. And he realizes that this random guy is actually his father who died.
Jim Caviezel. That's what
Jim Caviezel.
Jim Caviezel is the son of Dennis Quaid in the movie.
Yes.
Got it.
And he's talking to his dad who died, and he's in 2000, and he's talking to his dad in like the 70s, and he realizes they're on the same ham radio, and it's because this electromagnetic storm is happening. We've been having a lot of these same storms in real life, and the takeaway is that you can change the past even in the future if these different magnetic changes are happening. And you see the father-son duo change reality 2 or 3 different times, and they're surfing timelines, and at the end they come together, and it's unbelievable how it happens. Really, really good movie. One of my top favorites.
Like, of course, there's some consequences, right, to messing with how things happen, but it's the way that you could still communicate back and forth.
Yeah, wow. It goes back to like when you Back to the Future, one little thing might not end up right. That analogy, I think that's the first thing that came to my mind. I remember watching this movie, but I didn't really get it at that time. And so basically to enter and understand what you're saying here is these magnetic storms. Are you referring to the Schumann resonance and the solar flares we've been getting blasted with?
Yeah, like the recent coronal hole and the latest CME, and they're more on the way. I mean, we've had these, Atlas, I think it's comets. TR Swan, all these comets that are like, we have like 4 of them, I think, right now that we're tracking that are in the solar system that are flying towards the sun. As they get closer, the sun always will start firing off CMEs. And when they do hit us, they do impact us. I mean, these are real magnetic forces that we can see and measure, and they do impact
you
us.
Can see them physically. Last year I went to go see a girlfriend. It was like summer. It was like late May, and we were in St. Louis, and everyone's like, go outside.
Yeah,
you can see the aurora borealis, and we're like, what? It's like summer, and it's kind of like low. It's pretty south to be able to see that, even if it's winter. And we're like, what? So we went outside and we could see the aurora, and we're like, wow. And those have been coming more and more frequently, even though that's not the norm of the past. And if you watch Mr. MB 333, you'll see the photon storms again, data packets of light coming and hitting Earth. So this is kind of the idea of when Q says future proofs past, we are changing the past as we get more aware of our surroundings. The more we observe our lives on our own, we can change it, really.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. And that's the Schumann resonance. Also, as a collective, how we're growing, it's you can see it in society. You're either awake or dead. There's really no gray area. And if you're in that gray area, you better hurry up and get to a side. Because time is nigh, if I'm not mistaken. But this is just all incredible information. I'm so grateful to be a part of this again, and this episode.
Absolutely. Well, we're glad to hear that. For those of you watching, you'll see a picture of the Earth with the toroidal magnetic field represented by those kind of shades of blue, which is the different reacting to the sun. We know it's not that close, but we have to kind of shorten it down. But what we're attributing this to is that Earth, which may be fringe to some people, but Earth as a living being, like you mentioned that earlier, like, nature, the laws of nature, universal laws of nature, the principles that can't be changed, that just are, that we have to accept. Yep. The earth is self-regulating. It's a living organism. And some esoteric thinkers kind of extend that to saying that the earth is even aware of itself and of us. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of shaking us off, or it's helping us, or doing whatever it needs to do. But, in this sense, off to the right, we have a kind of a dual diagram, just kind of reminding you how our perception biologically must be translated to what we talk about when we're like, hey, if you change the way you look at the universe, or if you change your perspective, you change your universe. Well, that's how our eyes do work. The optic nerve tied into our brain is very complex, but the way that it works is simple. And when you look at an object, you're taking in light that's transmitted back to your brain, and then it spits it back out into a way that we can consciously understand. So what we might be looking at maybe isn't, I'm looking at a computer screen right now. Maybe it's not really. In reality, it's just a collection of photons that I'm looking at. But my brain is making sense of all the colors because we've assigned it that way. We've given it that information to recognize what words are. We understand what all these colors and photos means. But in its rawest form, it's just light. And that's exactly what's happening here. So could the same thing be happening with the sun, where occult and hermetic traditions call the earth the eye of the world, and even the eye of the God, the sun could be the eye of God looking back at us. Like Lexi just pointed out,
right.
These coronal mass ejections, these big photon blankets, these packets of information, people say downloads. I mean, that could be true. That could be, the sun could be the projection of whatever data is coming in for the simulation, the projector lens, as it could be speculated. We don't know. It
goes to this thing, what you guys said, like, somebody said one time, I'll never, like, oh, this sounds like some new Earth age bullshit. Because I was talking about Mother Earth giving birth. And if your frequency isn't vibrating in a certain way, you're not going to that new Earth, is what I was, what I find true to be true, and what I've done in my study. And that's, whatever. But you can feel it with all the volcanoes and all these once in a 1,000-year hurricanes and this, that, and the other, all these things that you don't even know about that are going on. We're ending a time where this can't go any further. Something's got to give, and it's about to, in my opinion. And just like a tree, a plant, everything's alive. We all are one in a way. So it makes complete sense to myself, but to others,
everything in nature, that you see that's tied to math. I'll leave it here. Something that I say to that too, when people are like, subscribing to the vibrational level of things. Okay, well, if we're on this 3D plane of existence that we're able to perceive around us, then if we looked up at a being or an entity like another planet, and it's actually in a different dimension, or it's a 6D, 7D, 8-dimensional being, we're not able to perceive that if we're being limited to a 3rd-dimensional perspective. So we're going to see, what could be a lower G God in the form of Saturn or Mars. They could be beings, but when we look at the sky, we see spheres. We only see the planetary shape. We cannot perceive them as an actual entity or what they actually are, if that's true. And same goes for the sun. Same goes for the earth. We just can't perceive it that way. We're limited. So it goes pretty deep.
It goes
what else
deep.
We got? And here we are. This is just more of the kind of what we talked about.
The symbol of, if you notice, I'm sure it looks familiar to everyone. Everyone calls it the Masonic symbol, but if you notice the red lines that are making up this
point of convergence, really.
Yes, exactly. So you have a VX shape, and where the image basically converges in the middle, that is the perception of reality. And that is the most truthful meaning of this hologram you're kind of seeing. So the crossing red lines form an X or a V shape. This resembles the compass legs in the square and compass symbol wide opened. The point within a circle motif, which shows 2 tangent lines and a central point, an emblem of focus, origin, convergence. In some esoteric diagrams, the crossing represents light entered matter, spirit into form. For 33-degree Masons and for the Scottish Rite, this symbol is less about literal geometry and more about illumination and perception. It means that truth is seen by passing through a single point, the center or apex of understanding. The inversion, flipping of an image, represents that the world we see is reversed or mirrored. That is also kind of Alice in Wonderland. Everything we see is upside down.
Think mirror, right?
Yeah, think mirror. We must turn it upright internally through knowledge and moral reciprocation. In higher teachings, it hints that reality is perceived subjectively and must be carefully interpreted. What we see is not what truly is. Esoteric insight, hermetic language, the crossing rays, the meeting of opposites, as above, so below, as within, so without, light, dark, material and spiritual, the image flipping, the great work, transmuting the inverted, imperfect image into upright vision or wisdom. So to summarize, the symbol point within a circle, compass opening, converging rays, meaning to a 33-degree Mason, perception leads to illumination. What you see is initially inverted. True initiation turns the right side up and aligns you with divine order. So this is, yes, think mirror. If you think something is scary or has a bad reputation, then flip it. It's our job as being wise to flip it on its head and transmute the negative meaning of something to be positive or to be a tool for the good guys that they could also use. But in order to do this, and I'll let you speak on this, but it's really important because when people start bringing up the rules of the game, which is Masons, everyone gets fearful because they have been having the reign. The bad guys have been using the tools for so long that we're all kind of upset because it's been used against us. Now, a quick word from the masters on how fear control illusions and holograms.
So first of all, let me assert my firm belief that the only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
I must not fear. Fear is the mind killer. Fear is the little death that brings total obliteration. I will face my fear. I will permit it to pass over me and through me. And when it is gone past, I will turn the inner eye to see its path. Where the fear has gone, there will be nothing. Only I will remain.
I'm done being scared.
Who said I'm not scared?
But you took on a croc.
And I was scared doing it. If you ain't scared of a croc biting you on the face, you ain't alive. Listen, kid, you can't get rid of fear. It's like Mother Nature. You can't beat her or outrun her. But you can get through it. You can find out what you're made of.
You have to have no fear. You have to have no fear. You have to believe in who you are and what you do. And just go fucking get it.
Afraid to lose her, I think.
What has that got to do with anything?
Everything. Fear is the path to the dark side. Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering.
Oh, love it. Yeah. Oh,
Beautiful. Oh, in Q drops, we see the sum of all fears mentioned over and over again, especially in the early drops. And that whole movie is a Tom Clancy novel. And fear distorts perception. Leaders misinterpret evidence. People rush to judgment, nearly destroy the world. Jack Ryan slows everyone down, makes them see past the fear, and he uncovers the truth before wrong decisions are made. So that's a huge premise of that movie. Cavendish, if you want to pause this screen, if you're watching it, definitely just go through it. We know that fear basically clouds perception. So a lot of people in this movement, in the New Age movement, in the Q movement, in conspiracy circles, in all these things, I noticed they hold a lot of fear, and the truth is never fully delved into if people have so much fear around a lot of these symbols and stuff.
Right. You're exactly. It's like what do we have to be scared of? What we've been through hell already and survived so much. Like, bring it on. Like, seriously, just whatever, get it over with. You don't even feel it. Let's just put it like that.
It's actually not so
wake
scary.
up, it really isn't. It's when you wake up in the hospital or whatever and have to do the rehab is scary. But
The
the
day
initial thing, you
after
don't
is
feel
always
it.
scary, but yep, you've already made it through your worst day.
Yep. And like, and this goes back to each and every but one of us that is watching or tuning in, and to you guys as well. How many times in life have we just barely by the thread of our ass made it?
But did you die?
Right. And but we're not here for any reason though, it just would be, too egotistic and oh no, this is just how it always is. Wrong.
And it doesn't always have to be that way. I think we're getting to that point where things are going to be more secure, more level. It's just, what to your point, Zig, it's, you guys have been through a lot and you always come out on top. Maybe you didn't have, again, going back to money, maybe you didn't have all the wealth that you thought you had, but you had what you needed. You had enough to eat. You had enough to keep food over your head. You had enough to keep your car running. And that's what you needed to keep going. You didn't need more than that. You always had everything. And it's, even though it was scary, you made it through, and you're going to continue to make it through. Don't be afraid.
Right. And don't be afraid to reach out for help either. I mean,
yes.
That's the
oh my gosh.
thing.
Yes.
Yeah. People are scared to reach out and tell what's really going on. And, that's one of the main things, find your tribe, like I found you guys, I mean, you resonate
I'm
with
glad
certain
you did.
people and that's okay. And you don't have to agree with everybody on everything. I mean, as husband and wife, I'm sure you guys don't agree on everything. I mean, I'm trying to think of one person that agrees with me on every single thing. No, it doesn't exist. So just
I need a little bit of difference.
It's okay. It's okay.
It's totally okay.
I can look at my past and be like, oh, that's awful. Or I can look at my past and be like, man, I have done some amazing shit that most people wouldn't experience in 5 lifetimes. Whatever.
That's
but
wise.
We
That's
all learn
very
lessons. So right, we're all on our different timeline, our own path, if that makes sense. And like, I think we talked about this. I was like, the different timelines and things like that. And, that reminds me of the Butterfly Effect movie, where there's like different versions of, who was it? Ashton Kutcher that played,
That's a wonderful movie. We should watch it again. Yes. You don't always get what you want, but you get what you need is a song that always rings true for me with these kind of scenarios. Because, oh, sorry.
What?
No, I was just looking. So that's kind of the way that jumping timelines goes. Everyone has a very immature, foolish child way of thinking how their life is going to be it, I'm going to be this when I grow up. I'm going to marry this type of person. I'm going to have this many kids. And then, something gets in the way and derails you from your plan. And people don't realize that plans hardly ever go through. People who are good at planning, they know that the first plan that they do is probably not going to go through perfectly. So you have set up scenarios for, okay, if something goes differently, we have all these different scenarios that we could pull from. So it's good to be prepared, but at the same time, you just have to realize everything's going to kind of go to shit because change and chaos is part of the scenario. So in the Butterfly Effect, Ashton Kutcher, he realizes everything goes to shit every time he tries to fix something. Something else comes up, and that's also echoed in the movie Frequency.
Yes, and it's a beautiful thing to see because you realize that Source is the only one that controls Mother, Father, Source controls everything. And just like probably a lot of people watching, listening, and yourselves maybe included, but when I've been hard-headed and try to do everything my way and force things, it always gets I get laughed at and clowned and slapped by the hand of God or goddess themselves in my pursuit of what I think is best for me at the time. So yeah, regardless,
all the time,
you're gonna end up in the right spot with the right people surrounded, but you always have to use your discernment, not lose it. Use your discernment and always just make sure you have, a backup plan. Not everything's going to go as you think it is. And that's why I can't stand when people harp on dates or harp on this, that, and the other. It's like we're all going through the same shit together. So we've made it this far. Let's just keep on trucking along. Come on, people, stop.
Exactly.
So use the subconscious processes, for good. You say, that you sit in prayer and meditate and you reflect on what you've learned and you give yourself time. And we all should aspire to do that. For those, again, if you're not familiar with that practice, here's a few ways that you could start doing that.
So the reason I brought Leonardo da Vinci into this, a couple different reasons. Everyone knows that he not only do his paintings have mathematical, symbolic, and anatomical, theological meanings behind it. Everyone's noticing that the more years that go by, people are still noticing new things to Leonardo's works that they never noticed even 50 years prior. This is the last slide, by the way. So
like a movie.
It's a movie. Every time you watch it, people are noticing different things, even just every 10 years when they look at his works. And then, of course, like we were talking earlier, think mirror. When Da Vinci wrote his journals and everything, he wrote it to where you can only read it if you look at it in a mirror. And he's telling you how to look at all his work, because it is a mirror of reality, but you have to look at it backwards, and only the people who are at that consciousness will see what's true. So I personally only ask God for things. And of course, your intention, it channels to the right person, whatever you call it. But if you sit in prayer, I breathe slowly. I ask God questions like, Lord, let me see with your eyes, not just my own. What truth is hidden here that glorifies you? What symbols point back to Christ or your creation? Show me where human pride has distorted truth and where divine wisdom is still shining through. What figure or gesture here is meant to reveal the real story I haven't heard? What if Leonardo da Vinci, what was he trying to say about heaven, earth, or the soul in this painting? If this painting is a parable, what is the lesson for me to learn today? What inversion must I correct in my own thinking to see this properly? And you'll be able to see the different things if you meditate on it. So I do that with all humans' works, and it gets the point across of what was actually trying to be said.
Beautiful. I mean, everybody needs to snapshot that, share, or at least sit on it, read it over and over and over again. Yes, exactly. Wow, man, I learned a lot, and that was the Fibonacci. Yeah, the Fibonacci sequence. That was the one up top, right? Too. Right,
yes, right the golden ratio. Yeah,
right next to the other guy. Yeah, that's. It's amazing. And it reminds me of Dolores Cannon. I don't know if you guys know her. She talks about, she was going through all those sessions, and who was it? Nostradamus came through and was like, look, I'm not some dead ghost floating around. I'm on this timeline. So I'm trying to make sense of all this, and it's like, wow, so there's all these other me's out there in these different timelines, but I'm the one in the ultimate timeline. And I affect every which way it comes out, and similar to everyone else's path to their ascension. Like Q says, the end isn't for everyone. And some people aren't going to make it, and you just got to keep trucking, moving along. So yeah. What an amazing episode, man.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining. I'm sorry it was long for everyone who watched. Thank you for joining and making it through to this point in a world where people have such a small attention span due to like TikTok shorts and stuff of that nature. It means a lot. Like if you can make it through a 2-hour, 1-hour video, you're already ahead of the game from most of the world. And I know it feels lonely, but other people will awaken the more we do.
We recognize you all, as listeners and watchers. So thank you so much.
Yeah. Absolutely. And Lexi and Rick, thank you so much. It's just so nice to have this network of people, this connection, learning new things, sharing information. I mean, this is how humanity is supposed to work in symbiosis. We're not meant to be isolated in a way. Like,
no,
I would love to live right down the street with them and be like, hey, come over and hang out. We can study
exactly.
together. And one day that will happen. I have no doubt. But we gotta bring just irk it out. I mean, lean on each other and back off when you need to, and treat yourself properly, and get rid of the negative self-talk and quick complaining. And let's just envision how you want this new society, this Mother Earth giving birth to look like. What do you want? And be the change that you want to see. That's it.
Beautifully said. Thank you so much for joining us, Sig. Thank you for all who watched this. And if you have any other suggestions of movies that we want to cover in the future, definitely let us know in the comments. If we missed something that you saw in any of the movies that we talked about, leave it in the comments. And we'll be doing this again for sure.
For sure. Yeah, you guys are amazing. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of the day. Yeah.
You too. Stay blessed out there. Be safe.
I will do. Great session. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.